So she quotes this study done in Paris, where they measure how many households in Paris, or maybe it was across France, have cameras, right? And they noticed that houses that had children were twice as likely to have a camera as houses without children. And she explains because it's almost negligible to not photograph your children. How do you feel about that? Is it negligible to not photograph your kids? You know what I mean?
I like that, and I like that a lot, and I understand. I don't necessarily. I feel like negligible is a strong word.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like we have this beautiful thing now that is photography, and I think it just comes down to not only responsibility as a parent, but it's also like awareness of what photography is.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as you know, children and kids, you don't understand what exactly is happening here. It's not just taking photos and this and that. It's like, no, you are quite literally, you now have, going back to the beginning of our conversation, you now have this, because of photography, especially in the 80s where it was filmed, because digital is a whole different conversation. You know, okay, but I now have this physical, tangible reflection of this person on this day at this time doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely specific. You know what I mean? And I think the idea of being negligible is I kind of agree the more I think about
It's
it.
hard to disagree. So I guess this is my question. Why is it negligible? I mean, my initial thought is like...
Because the children can't do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Not only can they not do it for themselves, but they don't see the value in doing it for themselves at that age.
That's true.
I think you as your parent, in a way, it is your responsibility to do it for them. Like you kind of have to do it for them. You know what I mean? It's just like, I wish I had more photographs of myself when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different thing because, you know, now it's a case of, especially I'm sure in the 70s and 80s, like photographs and photography wasn't as accessible as it is now. Everyone has a phone.
Yeah.
Every phone has a camera. You know, and again, it's not about accessibility thing, but it's, okay, sure, accessibility. But really, at that point, especially, like, everyone had the ability to do so. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to do so, even if you don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I'm getting a little lost, like, myself now, too, because I'm like...
I got you. I'll pick up a little bit right here, because I think I got some, you know... I look back on I'm the same as you. I used to hate taking photos as a kid, like being in photos, because I just hated having my fucking picture taken, okay? But then the moment it really hit me, where it's like, man, I shouldn't have been such an asshole, is when my cousin died. Because when I was going through all the photos, I realized, one, I don't have a lot of photos in the family book at all because I hated taking photos. And two, I never got a photo with this dude. You know what I'm saying? So now all I have are pictures of him, but not pictures with him.
Yeah.
And that hurts me.
Yeah.
Because, especially now that I'm older, you're a kid, you don't think about the fact you're gonna die one day. But now I'm older, I'm fully aware, I'm like, yo, any moment I could kick the bucket. Cross the street at the wrong time. You know what I'm saying? Bad luck. Cross the street at the right time and somebody's driving crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And...
So you're aware of your own mortality.
Exactly, yeah. And I guess
yeah,
it's... I think even like, from my own personal experience, looking at photos of myself, it's a real experience first, but also it makes me fully aware of how far I've come. Like, you know what I mean? I used to be a baby like this big, 10 pounds.
So now you have a referent again. Like you have something to like go back to.
Exactly. And so I think the part where now taking photos of your kids can be very negligible because we live in the social media era. Some people, their whole social media is their kids, right? And you have to ask yourself, you know, taking a private photo and then putting it in the scrapbook, okay, cool, that's for the family. But right, once you put your children in the public eye, now there's so many other layers to that. You
Yeah.
have people suing their parents for posting photos of them that they didn't give their consent for, right? You got creeps and predators out there probably following some random mom's Instagram page just because her kids are on it type shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like before social media, a photo of your child could not go public. You know what I mean? But now in social media, you have the control over your child's photo going public. And now, if you do so without awareness of the consequences, you're playing the danger.
Yeah, you're negligible.
You're negligible.
For sure.
You know?
Like you are neglecting their safety. You are neglecting their privacy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just it's so much. But one last thing I want to say about like I struggle with that word. Sorry, it's my accent. Negligible. I think a big part of this conversation, but not only this conversation, but also photography as a whole, is our relationship to photography in regard to memory. And again, exactly how you just said, you know, you wish you had a photograph of not only your family member, but you with your family member.
Yeah.
You know, because you are now not only old enough to understand the value in it, but correct me if I'm wrong, and you know, I don't want to dive deep into that conversation and the example that you gave up, but this happened not long enough for you to forget what this person looked like.
No. I'm talking about, it's hard for me to get the image of him in his deathbed out of my head. Okay. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. So now imagine if this happened at an age where your memory will fail you.
Lord have mercy.
And that's where I'm trying to get at. So one, as a child, not only do you not know what a photograph is, so by extension, you don't understand its value. But then the third thing, which if anything to me is the most important, is that you're not going to remember. You're not going to remember any of this. So because I know as your parent that you're not going to remember any of this, I feel like it is a responsibility for me to give it to you. Now, if you don't want to do anything with it later, that's completely their choice. Now, when they're adults, when they understand, okay, for sure. But I think every parent should give their kids the opportunity to keep their memories.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it is. You're keeping their memories. They're not for you, because I'm an adult. I'm going to remember your birth. Yeah. You don't remember your birth. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing. It's like, I think you're giving them the opportunity to keep their own memories. Yeah. I think that's why you're not, or you are being negligible if you don't, especially because of how easily accessible these things are.
Yeah.
Sure, in the 70s, I'll give, that's a different conversation in the 70s, because not everyone had the access to photography.
Exactly.
Or like, again, the funds, because even film back then wasn't that expensive. Okay, because in the 70s, at that point, everyone, for the most part, you can get a film camera. You know what I mean? 80s at least. So different conversation for when the book was created. But now contemporary times, there's no reason. I think there's no reason. I think there's really no reason for you to not do that, because unfortunately, the way our brains work, they're not fully cognitive and functional for the first couple years. I'm not going to keep those memories at all. So it's like, I would have liked to know what happened with this scar that I got when I was 2 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like, and again, I think it all goes back to what you said about understanding yourself. Like you're letting your kids know where you came from and what happened. And not just literally in terms of, I'm from Bronx, New York. No, where you came from as a human being, your experience, what made you the way that you are.
Yeah.
And it all ties, every conversation we've had ties back to itself, because it's like, again, this photograph that exists is in essence a version of you. And this particular case in children is a version of you that you don't fully understand and you're not even self-aware of. So I think it's my job to be aware of your existence for you.
Damn. Nah, man, that's meta as shit.
But what do I know?
No, I think that was very well put, yo.
I wear my heart on the sleeve, but who does it? I'm in a generation where you just say fuck it. Love don't exist unless you out of school, pockets full of money, and you got no issues with your daddy or your mommy. But I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I thought about texting X a couple of times, thinking it would help. just to remember it was dopamine I felt at 5:53 or 6:23 in the morning. But we did most of our loving in your bedroom. To be honest, to the public.